On today's episode, or should I say tonight's episode, of Dolphins After Dark, there's going to be a lot of Tua discussion as I am joined by Neal Driscoll, Britney, and Jennifer Forbush as we are going to discuss Tua Tagovailoa and is he too skinny for the rigors of an NFL season now? Also, we are going to talk about whether Tua Tagovailoa or not is holding this offense back. It seemed like Greg Cosell implied that, so we'll talk about that. Also, we'll discuss our biggest takeaways from Miami Dolphins minicamp. Do us a favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this.
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown.
And he will score. Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown. The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown.
He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphins fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. Appreciate each and every one of you for coming through on this Sunday evening, choosing us over the NBA Finals. I love all of y'all. So there's over 215 already in the room. Smash the like button as you come through. I am joined tonight by Britney of the Sideline T Podcast, who is at 516 subscribers, might I add. Look at you.
Yes, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My Thursday co-host for Fin Too Deep, Neal, who's on the road, and of course the newbie around here, Jennifer Forbush, who is rocking her Boston green tonight, and I'm sure all you Heat fans are absolutely already off to a great start with her because of that shirt. So I want to thank all of you for coming through. How are you guys doing today?
Thank you. Great.
Ready?
Neal's lost.
No, I'm awesome, man. I'm ready to get this going. We got Stanley Cup, we got NBA Finals.
Women on the highway next to you drinking,
high
shotting.
nooners.
Drinking and dancing in the car.
Yeah, man, living her best life next to me, swerving all over the place. I'm just happy it's not me for a change.
Wow.
I was going to say, make sure you tell them it's not me either.
Yeah, really. Shout out to Philip Marrow. I mean, that's a really interesting way to spell Philip. So shout out to you and your name for becoming a member on the channel. All right, let's get into it. Let's see what these girls got, Neal.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. All right.
We'll get into Tua in a little bit because there's going to be a lot of Tua discussion. What I wanted to ask you guys, what were your big, and feel free to jump in and out. What were your biggest takeaways from minicamp this past week? Because I know everyone super excited. We got a little tease of what training camp's going to be. And shout out to Ryder McConville. Go check him out. He's got some of the best all 22 breakdowns of the Dolphins on YouTube. Go check him out. But what were some of your biggest takeaways out of minicamp? Who's got it?
Ladies first.
Oh, yeah, we're going first?
Oh.
I'm super pumped to see Malik Washington. Seeing those like little snippets that the Dolphins were posting, that made me so pumped. I can't wait to see what we do with him. That's like my biggest one. But like I said a couple weeks ago, I'm really excited just to see how this team comes together and plays together. So there's not like one person that stood out to me. It's just everyone coming together, collectively working together.
So I think you all already know who I was most pumped to see. It is UDFA tight end out of Wisconsin, Mr. Hayden Rucci. Not only is he wearing a dyslexic version of my favorite all-time Dolphin ever, number 49. So I'm on the 94 to 49 train. But I am so excited about it. I know y'all are pumped about Johnny Smith. I did spend 2 seasons in New England watching him. So that's not the tight end I'm most excited to see. Although I think he's going to be great, open up the offense, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm not talking snack for real. But I was really pumped to see Hayden have a touchdown, 7-on-7s, and I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with him.
And he made those highlight clips, and I'm sure you
That's
were.
right.
I'm sure you were loving life over there.
Yes, I was.
Can we talk about Liam getting the orange jersey though?
Yeah, I can talk about it. It seems like it's a
participation jersey.
Participation trophy. Yep.
Thank
The
you.
day before he botched a snap. How are you getting an orange jersey for that practice when you're botching snaps?
And look at the rest of the orange jersey awardees.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this. When I saw
I think that was
Kader
like
Kohu,
a confidence booster. Sorry.
When I saw Kader Kohu in that orange jersey, I knew something was up because I haven't heard coming into this. I have heard that the new defensive staff doesn't have the highest of high opinions of Kader Kohu after they watched the film from last year. And I heard that before I went away. So when I came back and he's getting the orange jersey, I was like, okay, now are we just giving guys pats on the back and saying, hey, thanks for showing up right now? So
if that jersey had a lot of merit, wouldn't Tyreek Hill wear it a lot more? Right? If that jersey had merit, but I think it's an interesting tool that they utilize to help try to build confidence in some of these young guys. At the end of the day, it doesn't really mean much. I guess it's a little tradition they've started, but it is kind of ironic that every time we hear something questionable about somebody, a couple days later they come rocking out that orange jersey.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. It's true. And one of my biggest takeaways, guys and gals, was Anthony Walker Jr. I mean, I think this linebacker room is going to be a lot better than people are giving it credit for, and I think they're underrating it. And, I've talked about this. You look at the Bills right now, right? They've lost Stephon Diggs. Now they're expecting, right, Khalil Shakir to step up. Keon Coleman, who they drafted, they're expecting him to step up. They lost Gabe Davis, right? And I think this is going to be the Dalton Kincaid show in Buffalo this year. And I think this is the best linebacker group we've had since Kiko Alonso was around. So I think when it comes to covering tight ends, we might be in better shape than when Eric Rowe was in his prime over here covering tight ends at strong safety. I think this team is going to be ready to wash out second level threats more than people are giving them credit for. And Anthony Walker, talk about a guy who keeps making plays every time the media is there. And I mean, you talk about if the orange jersey matters, Neal, we would have seen Anthony Walker in it. We would have seen Tua in it, right? And we didn't see any of that. I think the linebacker crew, and Britney touched on something with Malik Washington. I think this wide receiver battle from 4, 5, 6, and do they carry 7 is going to be intense this year. I mean, is Akama stepping up, making plays? I've heard privately Malik Washington has been phenomenal, has looked very explosive. And then you add in Berrios, then you add in River Craycraft, right? I mean, this is going to be a very interesting battle. And then where does Tajay Washington fall? Right, the guy they drafted. So it's going to be very interesting. Even the tight end battle. I know Jennifer's over there, got her pom-poms out for Rucci, but Jody Fortson, right? Julian Hill, you may be sent packing to the practice squad, and Jody Fortson might step up. If he can block what he's been showing athletically and his ability to make plays, Jody Fortson looks like he has a higher upside than Julian Hill. I mean, the
Which
tight end room
shouldn't be that surprised. I was just going to say we shouldn't be that surprised that Fortson looks like he has more upside than Julian Hill.
Julian Hill, you run a 40 in 4.3, 4.4 seconds. He takes 4.4 seconds to start running the 40. That guy's so slow. He's chugging along. I mean, and you saw Jonnu and you saw Hunter Henry in New England. You guys were probably pretty amped when that first went down. Yeah.
Absolutely. When the signings first happened, pumped, like couldn't believe it. Like
Yeah.
couldn't believe the amount of money that was spent in free agency. It was like an extravaganza. Yeah, everyone was really
A what?
excited.
Sorry, say that one more time for me.
Extravaganza. Oh, did I use the wrong? Did I use the wrong word? I'm sorry. Did I mispronounce? But it didn't pan out that way in New England for Jonnu, and there are a variety of reasons. Obviously, offensive dysfunction overall, Mac Jones, but there were times where everyone was so pumped about having this sure-handed third receiver in Jonnu, and we just didn't necessarily see that here up
Because you had
here.
macaroni noodle arm Jones. That's why.
Well, I'll give you that. I will absolutely give you that. But there are games, and I would say watch the Saints game, where it is just absolutely it's inexplicable for how bad he was. And I know he had one game in Atlanta that was like that too. And I'm not saying that's him as a player overall. I don't think it is. And I think he brings way more to the table that will open up this offense and make him be a player of value. But it just was a really traumatic experience.
I can tell. Honestly, I expect more from OBJ. And I've told everyone, even when we got OBJ, back to Brittany's point, I've told everyone, Malik Washington's going to ball, even with OBJ here.
Yep, I can't wait. I was so pumped about him. I can't believe he fell that far. I can't believe we actually got him. That was one of the receivers that I'm not saying, this was such a deep receiver class, so there were a ton to be excited about, but that was one of the sleepers. I love Jalen Coker out of Holy Cross, but Malik was one of those guys that, was like a bigger version of him. All right.
Yeah. And I agree with the Malik Washington thing.
I was pumped.
I don't think Odell Beckham's promised anything, right? He's on a heavy incentive contract. So that tells me, that the Dolphins are on the hook for paying him the $3 million and another $5.5 million can be on, incentives. Well, if Malik Washington comes out there and just takes the position, right? The Dolphins have no obligation to have to pay him. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but Malik Washington has that makeup. It's very reminiscent to me of when Steve Smith was drafted out of Utah and Carolina.
Yep.
He just has that mentality that he's going to attack every single day. He's going to make it hard on the coach and staff. I was under the impression when we drafted him, what a great pick. Amazing that he fell, but
couldn't believe it.
I'm not expecting too much out of him year one because we do have Hill, Waddle, and then we go out and sign Odell, and it's okay, well, he's going to be on training wheels, but I don't know. These young receivers are going to get every chance to showcase themselves during this preseason. And he just, what it reminds me of a little bit is when the Giants, Victor Cruz came out of nowhere for the Giants.
Out of nowhere.
Washington does the salsa. Wait. I will pay you $10.
Did he come out of nowhere, or did he come out of the University of Massachusetts?
Oh,
there you go. But no, but so the preseason, it doesn't mean a lot to some people. If you're Tyreek Hill, the preseason means nothing. But to a guy like Malik Washington, it means everything, right? So, he blew me away. And then my biggest takeaway from all of training camp is that Devon Achane, if he stays healthy, is just going to ascend into a top 10 running back in this league. And I think it's going to happen sooner than later. I still think they'll be loyal to Mostert around the goal line. Mike McDaniel's a loyal guy, but I think we're going to see Achane a lot more in the passing game this year, and that excites me. You get him on linebackers, and with that speed and the home run ability he has, that dimension could just be absolutely lethal.
So let me ask you this. You expect Achane to blow up. Are you totally – what do you expect from Wright in year one? Because, we could very well be sitting here in December, and it's his running back, and it's his room.
Well, here's what we know, and we've both said this for months or years now. Raheem Mostert's a good football player, man. I got his bobblehead delivered to my house yesterday. I like the guy, man. But with that said, he hasn't been there in those big, meaningful games at the end of the season. And I don't know if maybe putting him on a pitch count throughout the course of the year does it. Because what we did last year is, we thought we had this surplus of running backs. And, everyone was getting hurt. Jeff Wilson got hurt for a while. Then, then Achane and Mostert went down. And then, I like that we have other options. And a guy like Jalen Wright's another guy that he gets those opportunities, man, he's just another guy who approaches the game like that. He's coming into the league with, a chip on his shoulder because he fell to the 4th round. I don't know, man, but I'll say this. It's a good problem to have, and I just hope that the coaching staff gives whoever's playing the best at that time the rock.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I don't want any favoritism, and I think they all have a little bit uniqueness to their skill set. So when you look at, offensive schemes and formations, the mad scientist can get even more creative here and find a way to get these guys the ball. And it's exciting because
you're going to see Achane in the slot. You're going to see Achane in the slot for sure.
Yeah, because I thought we were kind of pretenders at running the football last year when it mattered. I do. I know the stats.
We were.
The stats say that we were the top 5.
But was that a McDaniel problem or was that a running back problem? Because McDaniel, from the 20 to 20, we'd run the ball and get down inside the 10 or the 5, and then all of a sudden we'd have 3 straight pass plays instead of trying to run the ball when it even got us to that spot.
I can't figure that out. I can't figure out why we do that. I honestly, it's the biggest conundrum with the Miami Dolphins for me. I don't get it. I do think maybe, and this sounds insane, I do think there's a part of him that is looking out for Tua. I think he wants Tua to put up big gaudy numbers. I do. And it's not to say that it's not. I don't care that he puts the ball in the air. Sometimes it's just the play calls, though. That fade route, little throw to Tyreek, I know it won us a game. You can burn that from the playbook and never run it again, and I'll be a happier
ever.
Man.
Please, I'm begging that to not come.
And if you are going to run it, please throw it to OBJ for the love of everything holy.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm going to stand up for Raheem right now. I think it wasn't a him problem. I think it was a combination of a play calling problem and our offensive line. I think it was those two together. I don't think it was a Raheem issue. I think.
Hold on. Did you say it wasn't a heme problem
Raheem.
or a him problem? She doesn't.
Raheem.
Doesn't get it. Heme. Okay. Anyways, go ahead.
Well, it was a plan word.
Yeah.
See, here's my thing. This is where it does become a Raheem problem. In the December and January months, he can't stay healthy.
He was injured.
He just can't. But 2 years in a row.
Whatever.
Buffalo Bills lost right in the playoffs. Where was him? He was in the sideline in the tunnel hugging Tua. Last year, where was he? They could barely feed him the ball because he was so banged up.
We were.
Say it.
I love him, and I'm going to defend him. So.
Oh, there you go, girl.
I can love Tua all I want, but I can't defend the injuries.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be able to. Your best ability is your availability, especially when you're a running back. And same thing goes with Devon Achane. Achane was my boy. I was talking about him a year before we drafted him. Achane was my guy. He couldn't stay healthy yet last year either. That's why they clearly went out and got Jalen Wright, because they said, I can't rely on any of these guys. Jeff Wilson, year before, 2022, couldn't stay healthy. Right? Last year, I don't know why they weren't feeding him the ball when they came back. If he wasn't healthy enough to be fed the ball, they might as well have kept running with, Chris Brooks or whoever was the case. But they didn't. So I don't know what their deal is. But I think that's another reason why they went to Jalen Wright. I think that's another reason why they traded up and drafted Jalen Wright. No injury history, not a lot of wear on the tires, and they're basically saying, okay, here's the thing. One of these guys is going to be healthy by the time we get to the playoffs. I think that's literally where they're at right now. And listen, I'm a Raheem Mostert fan. He had a great year, but you got to be able to stay healthy, because to be successful in the playoffs, you got to run the football.
Okay, but do you think even if he was healthy, we still would have been feeding him the ball? Because I think we had an issue with play calling in our offensive line. We couldn't run the ball.
Well, if you go look at it, right, Raheem didn't have a 100-yard game rushing after Isaiah Wynn went down.
Right.
But at the same point, I think you would have got more opportunities, especially in the Kansas City game. I think they would have turned to the run game a little bit more in the Kansas City game, but I think they were looking at both their guys. Achane had turf toe, right? Yeah. And Mostert had whatever he was dealing with. And they basically were like, we're going to have to rely on Tua. And that's why you saw them throwing so many screens and keeping the game short. They were trying to make an extension of the run game without having a run game.
Right.
And it cost them. I thought, you know what I mean? So
And
I would have leaned on Jeff Wilson. I don't know what the deal was.
And
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be our like a strength of ours too.
Right.
That, like, we had a better run game and they had a worse run defense, and it just didn't fucking pan out.
And this team won't go where we all want it to go if they don't run the football game when it matters late in the season.
Yeah.
They have
Correct.
to do that. They have to commit to it. They can scheme for it. They can do whatever they have to do. They have good versatility in the backfield. A lot of guys kind of do some different things, but they have to give those guys the chances. And you can't. Look what happened to the Ravens in Baltimore against Kansas City. The Ravens should have destroyed that Chiefs team. They were so much better. Gus Edwards' first carry, he ran for 13 yards, and then he got, 3 more carries for the rest of the game. Like, to beat Pat Mahomes, and Josh Allen, you got to keep them on the sideline.
Yeah.
You got to keep them on the sideline.
Yeah.
You got to turn the clock. The clock's your best friend.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins have a feather in their cap because they have a more explosive passing attack than either of those teams. And I do think they can run the football. What happens, I think, to some of these coaches here, and it doesn't have to be just young guys like Daniel, because this is the big knock on John Harbaugh in Baltimore here, is that, like, you get into the thing, the bullets start flying, and you kind of abandon your game plan way too quick. And you got to be patient, and you got to go through some of the storms of the football game. It's different if you're down a couple scores, but, like, in some of these games, I feel like, stick to that run. We were pretty successful, on our yards per carry. I just think if it didn't work like once or twice, then it was like, all right, let's just spread it out, throw it all over the place. And a part of football is that the other team tries, and you're not going to just insert your will on everyone at every moment, but you got to stick to it, especially when you have the home run hitters in the backfield like Miami does, because like Devon Achane can go lose 3 yards, on 3 consecutive plays and then go 80 yards to the house, right? Like, that's part of his game. So I do hope they commit to the run a little bit, or not a little bit more
a lot more
2024. Yeah, absolutely.
See, that's where, like, stats become kind of like an enemy in a way, because, when we were talking a couple minutes ago about how they are in the red zone and how they get away from the run in the red zone, people would come, well, they're one of the most efficient teams in the red zone, in terms of touchdowns and blah, blah. But it's like, okay, that's fantastic. That just slaps me in the head and tells me how much more efficient they could have been and how much more explosive they could have been and how many chances and how many points we left on the field, right?
If you can get one freaking yard.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell?
Dude, this team on 4th and 1 and 3rd and 1, no matter whether it's in the middle of the field or in the red zone, this team has issues getting that push.
Big time issues, yeah.
All right, so let's hop into a mini camp still a little bit more here. Okay. Give me your top performer and your top underperformer for mini camp.
I already gave you mine because I think he exceeded expectations, and that is Hayden Rucci. My underperformer would be, where the fuck is Aaron Brewer?
Right. Good point, Jenna. We haven't heard anything about this. At least I haven't.
He was hurt, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So those are my 2.
Lovely.
All right. Who
Freaking
you got,
fantastic.
Brittany?
I didn't even know he was injured, so now I'm like, oh my god.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, sweet dreams.
No.
Beautiful nightmares.
I mean, my top performer would have been Tua, and my underperformer would have been Tier Tart. I mean, all the hype for him being in that rotation next to Zach Sealer, and he's lagging 20 feet behind everyone when they're running wind sprints.
I can't even don't even get me started about that. Don't even. Did you see the video where they asked them their favorite foods?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, and Zach Sealer came in looking like Zach fucking Sealer, like a goddamn stud, and 2 fat ass motherfucking D tackles behind him that were so fucking fat. I'm sorry, I apologize for my language. I know you're Canadian, but I didn't even know who they were. I don't know. Y'all are polite.
Doesn't apologize for the fat shaming, but
Hey,
she apologizes for the
it's after
swearing.
dark.
For the
It's
cussing.
after dark. Yeah, sorry. No, but they looked. I'm like, what are those? Are those like maybe they were O linemen? I
They're
didn't even
space
look
eaters.
at them. Yeah, but there are space eaters that are in shape, and I don't know. It just looked so scary. And to hear, I know, like I heard what you heard about Omar saying, like he was 20 yards behind people, and if it was Christian, he would have been fucking winning every single time. And then to hear Gardner Minshew say, you know, who was your biggest, when they asked, Raiders asked, who was your biggest surprise? He's like, without a doubt, Christian Wilkins. At like wherever the ball is, he's there immediately. The effort, the whatever. And I'm just like, this shit is going to be missed way more than y'all are giving it credit for. This is not to take anything away from Zach Sealer. I love him independently as his own fabulous, badass defensive tackle that he is.
Everything always comes back to Christian Wilkins.
I'm sorry, I can't help it.
I'll allow it.
Well, reason
We love
aren't you at a
Christian.
point now where if they have this abundance of cap space that's opened up, and if they are going to get more from this Tua deal, that if they don't address the defensive line and maybe the interior offensive line, there's a little bit of arrogance here. Like
Doesn't sound like they're going to. Listen to what McDaniel was just saying. It doesn't sound like they're going to.
Yeah, and I you know, I hope he's playing poker at the podium, because like I know there's guys out there like Calais Campbell to me would be a great fit for this team. You know, Campbell could definitely play 2 downs against the run. You know, he gives a little. I mean, he had 6.5 sacks still last year. I don't know what the hell kind of contract he's looking for, but you know, I do think that if they don't spend that money and they just let the bullets fly, they better come through, because they're setting themselves up for heavy criticism. Because, you know, from I think a lot of our perspective right now, the interior offensive line definitely has probably 2, maybe 3 question marks right now with it. Like, so, and you know, they had 17 guys they signed to replace Christian Wilkins. You know, I hope 2 or 3 of them can actually, you know, play some meaningful snaps for us. Because I do think that interior offensive line and defensive tackle are 2 positions that you see a lot of people that, you know, maybe don't make the final roster, veterans, and maybe you go for youth. But I could see some quality players shaking free after kind of training camp. And, you know, who knows? I mean, if they, like, you know, like Jeff Darlington saying that Tua deal gets done in July, if that happens and you're sitting $30 million under the salary cap and you really believe this is your window, what good is that money going to do? It's like kind of, you know, people that don't spend any money and enjoy their life and die with tons of money in the bank. Well, awesome.
Can't take it when you're gone, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Ryder says, and I agree with this, the 2 positions they believe they can help the most schematically are interior offensive line and D-line. And I think when you look at the D-line, you go look at what Weaver was just running in Baltimore, and it was basically a rotation next to Matabuki. And you look at the guys they brought in like Benito and Thierry and stuff like that, it's the same exact vibe. And then when you look at Butch Berry, Neal, remember last year when we got Isaiah Wynn, you had Omar Kelly and everyone in the local media telling you he's going to be right tackle, he's going to be on the right side. And I put my hand up and said, no, he's going to be your left guard. They're going to use him like how he's using Georgia Watch. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
You did. And I have to give you credit for that. Yes, you did.
And look at what they got out of Isaiah Wynn. Look at the people mover and the mauler he was on the interior. I don't think they think there's going to be much of a drop off from Connor Williams to Aaron Brewer. And I think there's actually things they think they can do athletically with Aaron Brewer that they couldn't do with Connor, like pulling him across the line and stuff. And, you know, and then if I think they truly believe like what we all think, Eichenberg and Driscoll, their best tape at the professional level has been at right guard. So I think they're thinking one of these 2 guys is going to hit. Now, where we all start looking at them funny and where we all start thinking arrogance is starting to set in is, okay, we believe you can get this level of play out of these guys. That's fantastic. But what happens when history repeats itself and Isaiah Wynn doesn't stay healthy and Teron Armstead doesn't stay healthy?
Exactly.
Now what are we dealing with? Because you could be looking at a position here where you might be in the position mid-season where your whole left side is brand new. And that's not even saying there's going to be an injury to Aaron Brewer or Eichenberg or Driscoll or Austin Jackson. Austin Jackson's battled injuries the last couple of years too as well. Eichenberg, he was playing injured last year to finish off the season, right? So, I mean, that's the thing. And then what? We got to rely on, okay, I think we can all be okay. If we got to rely on Kendall Lamb, we're all okay with that.
Yeah.
But when we've got to start relying on Robert Jones or, Lester, Cotton.
Lester Cott.
I call him Lester Cottontail
no.
because
And-
Cotton's the name of a rabbit, not a football player.
Yeah.
So, if we start relying on those guys, that's when we might be up the creek with no paddle, right?
And
Yep.
reason I think what people get frustrated with, annoyed with, is like the arrogance of like they just said we don't need to look at our lines, like we think we're good with our lines, and you just said, well, what if then Teron goes down and Isaiah Wynn goes down? We should expect them to go down.
Yeah.
We should
Wynn
expect
has
them to
never
go
played
down.
a season not going on
I think
IR.
I think he might have played one, honestly, maybe.
Same with
but I'm not
Armstead,
even
I think. Same exact with
correct.
Armstead.
So that should be expected. This shouldn't be a surprise.
Mhm.
And that needs to be addressed before it actually freaking happens. And the arrogance with which it was addressed of, I think y'all are a lot more worried about it than we are, is what kind of really gets to people,
Yeah.
And then to go through this whole draft that was, allegedly and purportedly O-line really heavy and just fuck it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you didn't even draft a
Like-
tackle that can play guard. You drafted a
Right.
guy who's
Yeah.
like specifically a tackle.
And is 17 feet tall, and young and undeveloped,
Yeah,
like the Chiefs got my dude in the last fourth pick of the freaking draft. All right, guard.
Yeah.
Well, and I hate him. And if I die anytime soon, it's probably going to be because of a crazy Jets fan murders me. But I'll say this: they went out and got Tyron Smith, who's one of the best left tackles in this game.
Can't say
Knowing
healthy,
that,
though.
but you know what they did? They doubled down and went and got Olu Fashanu, and it's might not be a move that pays immediate dividends. He might beat out Morgan Moses and start on the right side. Remains to be seen. But why I like that move so much is that it gives you assurance for the assurance that protects Aaron Rodgers' blind side. And
Exactly.
I hate the Jets. I personally, if I was the GM, would have taken Brock Bowers there because I think Brock Bowers is generational. But with that said, I do think that they did a smart thing because if they can keep Tyron Smith on a pitch count and make sure he's healthy if they do make it to the postseason. Yep. I think it could be a good thing. And, so I would love to see this team add one more quality interior guy that can push for playing time. It would make me so happy.
Well, look at what, what bugs me? Look at what Pittsburgh did. They got
Don't
Russell
even talk
Wilson.
about it.
They got Russell Wilson and they rebuilt that whole offensive line in frront of Russell because
The
they're
whole
like,
left
we
side.
got to keep him clean.
The whole left side.
And the center.
And the center. And they got what's his face slasher that Belichick presented them from
Broderick Jones from Georgia.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know. The problem is, and I appreciate McDaniel for this because he has changed how Greer values running back. I mean, who would have thought 3 years ago Greer would trade up for a running back? But the problem is you're now valuing the interior offensive line like a running back room. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. I mean, listen, we all knew Dalton Risner probably wasn't going to come here because when Butch Berry got sent packing from Denver, the rumor was a lot of the veterans didn't like him and they were throwing him under the bus, right? So we knew Dalton Risner was probably one of the lead vocal guys in that room. So, just doing simple math, he was probably one of the dudes. But I mean, Greg Van Routen's still out there. You know what I mean? Andres Pete was sitting out there forever. I mean, these are guys where you could just bring them in and say, hey, I'm not guaranteeing you anything. And even if you don't win the job, you're going to be sitting here as one of my swing guards or my swing center, blah, 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 blah. Because I've said this before, we're kind of in a position where you kind of want to root against Liam Eichenberg in training camp. And I know that sounds messed up, but you kind of want Jack Driscoll to win the right guard spot. So we got a backup center because we don't have a backup center. What are we going to rely on?
Correct.
UDFA?
What are we doing?
And the starting center is hurt. I mean,
What
and
are
so,
we doing?
I'm just saying, you got to root for Jack Driscoll to win right guard.
I mean, we are for Neal's sake, just for the jersey, just like we're rooting for Rucci for my family name jersey sake. But yeah, it's a little unnerving. I don't get it.
Knight says Wynn did play
Wynn
one
did
full
play
season.
one full season.
I told you that, Steve. I heard you. I know.
Honestly, we
that's
could have been healthier last year had we not been injuring our own players.
Well,
Also true.
That's true, I guess.
Yeah.
Thanks, Liam.
I mean, Liam's been injuring players for a couple years now.
Liam
So-
is a terrorist.
Was it Noah Benogany injured someone too a couple years ago? Remember, was it Brandon Jones? He was the one who injured Brandon Jones, right? Or was that Jerome Baker? One
I
of
don't
the
get
two.
it. I don't
Yeah.
get into what players injured Preston Williams.
I'll say something. I think we had the parental advisory little logo on this pod, right? Since it's after dark.
Sure.
Yeah.
If this season fell off the rails because of Liam Eichenberg, I would be so fucking livid. It would be one of the biggest misjustices the Miami Dolphins ever did to Neal Driscoll as a fan, because it would really. I'm telling you, man. Trust me. I was prescribed Zoloft when we were 1-15 because I was so damn depressed. But like, if they really roll the dice with this offensive line, and I'm not telling them they're wrong right now, but
I am.
if I'm smarter than them, I'm going to lose all faith in them with this damn offensive line, because it does scare the shit out of me right now that Aaron Brewer's already hurt, man. Like,
Yeah.
this offensive line, man, everybody's banged up at some point, and it scares the hell out of me because I see the potential that this team has, and to stub your toe because of a offensive lineman that has failed here for 3 years would just
And you just can't fucking let it go.
You can't let it
Right.
go. Yeah.
And look, if everything works out perfect and Liam plays well and Brewer stays healthy and Isaiah Wynn stays healthy, they'll be okay. But I'm here saying that the NFL doesn't fall like that. It's never perfect. It never works like that. I've spent every 37 years as a fan always thinking that it was going to work perfectly, and it never freaking does. Things happen. You get, one of the best defensive backs in the game in Jalen Ramsey, and then he has to miss the first half of the season. Like, this kind of shit happens. And like Jack Driscoll, God, man, God love him, same last name, but I still don't have enough damn faith in Jack Driscoll to give us the depth we properly need. I think we're good at offensive tackle, but I do think they need to go get Van Roten or go get a couple guys like that. Again, if they get Tua's deal done and they have $30 million, these deals are signing are $1.7 million, 1 year vet minimum type deals. Like, you're not going to break the bank, man. Bring in some assurance for this football team, because here's what's going to happen if they don't, right? At the midway point of the season, then they're going to have to overtrade draft resources to fix the wrong. Right now, you have the chance to fix the wrong for cheap. And I'm not saying you're going to go out there and find Zach Martin or Quentin Nelson, but you can find serviceable players that are going to be available. Don't be asleep at the wheel. Go get one guy, man. That will make me so much happier than I am right now.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Something. Like, why are we going to spend all this money on Tua and give all this money when we're like bargain shopping on the offensive line? Like,
if you're
And you
all
could've-
in, go all in, throw everything in the
Right.
kitchen sink, basically.
You could have bargain shopped in the draft too. Instead, you traded up when you suspected there was going to be a run on running backs, which was, if you love Jalen Wright, the right move. Like, you could see it. It was about to happen.
Mhm.
I get it, but that's your priority, is weapons with no tip of your spear.
Knight connecting dots. It says Liam to Armstead, Jones to Baker, Lamb to Connor, Holland and Long collision gave both concussions. Moser led to Waddle's ankle injury in Germany. Powerhouse says
we
all
don't
of
need
us
any
could be
more.
wrong, and they could actually
We
stay
don't need any
healthy.
more gas, Steve.
Powerhouse says all of us could be wrong, and they could actually stay healthy like Tua did. I mean, sure,
Oh.
I could wake up tomorrow and
Yeah.
win the lottery too. Anything
I was
could
going to
happen.
say the same thing.
I mean, hey.
Yep.
Okay, let's get into Greg Cosell and what he said, because this has been kind of a topic of discussion. Kurt Warner even chimed in on it. So I'll play the audio of it, and let's play the audio for people so they know what we're talking about. This is Greg Cosell, and this is what he had to say about Tua.
Well, I think offensively it'll simply be an expansion of what they do, because you have to play to your quarterback, and Tua is a timing rhythm thrower. We've talked about this for the last number of years. That's who he is. That's what he'll be. He can't be more than that because his talent level does not allow that. but he's really, really good. You know, he's got a quick drop, quick set, really accurate in the short to intermediate area. Obviously, they've got tremendous speed at receiver. They added Beckham. This is a team that uses motion, I think, more than any team in the league, and they use motion to get free access off the ball. It's difficult for defenses to play against them because you have to kind of shrink your defensive menu when there's so much motion because you don't want to get caught. So, you know, I think offensively it'll be structurally and schematically similar with some expansive additions just based on the fact that it's another year with the same coach and the same quarterback.
Well, really went out on a limb saying they're going to expand their offense on that one. Okay, so a few things, and then I'll pass it over to you guys to talk about. Okay, so my basic takeaway from it is in the opening when he basically implies this offense is limited because of Tua's play style and what he can do at quarterback. Now, he's stressed short to intermediate level. Let me just hit you with some numbers, right? In 2022, he was number 1 in deep pass yards per average, all right? He was one of the best deep passers in the league in 2022. Last year, all right, he was the NFL's leader in deep pass completions. He had 31. His 51 completion percentage rate on deep passes was 6th best in the NFL. 44 of his 61 deep passes were deemed as catchable, a 72% rate, which was 3rd in the NFL. And he was 35 of 61, or 57% of his deep passes were on target with minimal receiver adjustment, which was 5th best in the NFL. You know, and we can all agree on this. Year 1, sure, there were some balls where Tyreek maybe had to slow down and turn back to, but year 2, that was all gone. And you could tell year 1, they were going through an adjustment period. I mean, you guys try to adjust throwing to a guy that runs a 4.2 flat. I mean, it's not easy, right? And that's always been one of his strengths going back to Alabama, right? When he had Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, Henry Ruggs, and all of those guys, he could adjust to their speeds on the deep throws. He's very good at adjusting to different play speeds, right?
Yep.
I think he's really overlooked as a deep passer in the NFL. I don't know why. I mean, I just rattled off a ton of numbers. I mean, if you want to get into the PFF numbers, right? I mean, he had a 95.6 deep passer grade from PFF last year. All right. So, I mean, you know, it's not like he's a jabroni on the deep level, right?
No.
I mean, so I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because that really came off to me as like he throws a slight at Tua and then he tries to like cover it up. Well, he's good at this and good at that. You know, yes, you have to design your offense and scheme your offense to play to the strengths of your quarterback. But can we all agree that we've seen a lot more strengths from Tua that all these haters out here said he didn't have since McDaniel took over than we've seen cons to his game? We've seen a lot more pros to his game than we have seen cons to his game since McDaniel took over. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on that? Did you take that the same way I did, that he's kind of implying that Tua might be holding this offense back?
I'll bite. So Greg Cosell, to me, is literally, when it comes to quarterbacks, probably one of the top 5 people that I listen to. He's exceptional at breaking down quarterbacks. With that said, I do think that Tua Tagovailoa is among the most underappreciated, disrespected players in this league. If 99% of these teams in this league had a 26-year-old quarterback, right, that had led this team to back-to-back playoffs and put up the production that Tua did, if this happened on the Jets, if this happened in the mainstream market, they'd be building bronze statues of players for like this, right? I have them anywhere from 7, 8, 9, 10 on any given Sunday, with the ability to probably climb that ladder, but also the ability to fall out of that realm. And all these narratives could go away if this team accomplishes what it has to be. And it doesn't have to be the end-all, be-all goal of winning a Super Bowl. They have to show they can win meaningful games. Because I don't even think that most of these guys probably watch every throw or anything like that anymore. Reason I think they just grasp to the narratives because they get paid the same and it makes their job a lot easier. They don't have to do as much work. And I think it's easy just to regurgitate the same bullshit that everyone else says. And if Tua and the Dolphins win playoff games, all of this shit will go away. All of it will go away. And that's where, you know, I think you got to take the bull by the horns. And I'll be honest, I kind of like some of this bullshit because I think a guy like Tua Tagovailoa is the type of guy that responds to that with his play. And like the guy, like I feel like he has that drive and passion to prove people wrong. And, sure, if you want a quarterback that can throw the ball 80 yards because the Dolphins have so much speed, you might think 1 + 1 = 2. But some quarterbacks have to put that ball. You have to be able to find strides where you can hit these receivers so they can make plays and yak after the catch. You have to still throw the ball in tight spots. There isn't a better tight spot thrower in the league than Tua Tagovailoa. So, like, all quarterbacks have their superpower, and Tua's maybe isn't that he can throw the ball 80 yards, but, like, I don't know why there's such an emphasis on that where there are things that Tua does better than anyone else in the league, and it kind of seems like that gets swept under the rug. Everybody uses stats to prove everything, right? But when it comes to Tua, he's ranked number one in almost over the last 2 years, 1, 2, or 3 in almost every quarterback or every category that a quarterback
category. Yeah.
And yet, like, he does not get that type of love. Like, and I'm not saying he's better than Mahomes. I'm not crazy enough to think that. I'm not saying that he's on Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, or even Lamar Jackson's level. But I am saying that on that second tier, he's not far off. And any other quarterbacks in this league, man, he is on that tier. I really believe he's on that tier.
Okay, let's take. Okay, well, hold on a sec here. I just before the ladies go here. Okay, so I agree with you on Mahomes, but I think when you start getting into the Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson discussion, I think you start getting into more of who's the better athlete type of discussion there, because as a passer, Lamar Jackson is not in Tua Tagovailoa's realm as a passer right now. All right. Now, as a athlete, obviously he's a better athlete. Now, Josh Allen, I think you can make more of the argument, that he's, but again, still, we get into the turnovers, we get into the accuracy issues with Josh Allen, right? So, and the poor decision making, right, with Josh Allen at times. So, like it's like what Kurt Warner said, right? When Kurt Warner basically said his talent of quick processing, anticipation, accuracy would make 90% of NFL quarterbacks better. See, the thing is, he's like high level and elite in like intangible areas, not necessarily in physical areas. And
100%.
I think that's where the disconnect happened, right? You know what I mean? Like, I think I'm on record saying this. I think Lamar Jackson's MVP last year is one of the most overrated MVP seasons ever. The guy didn't even throw for 30 touchdowns. I mean, he should not have been the MVP.
Should have been McCaffrey, I think.
It should have been McCaffrey, or it should have been, listen, I know he turned the ball over, but Josh Allen accumulated over 40 touchdowns and brought his team back from a 3-game deficit in the AFC East with like 6 games left. Like, I mean, there's a better argument I can make for that. The problem is they look at the record and they automatically give it to the quarterback based on the record. So, I think with Tua, I just think people, because they tried to convince us, right? They tried to convince us 3 or 4 years ago the pocket quarterback was dead. Brady was the last of the breed. It's over. It's dying. You need to be an athlete. And then here come along Purdy and Tua, and they just totally mess up that narrative, because Purdy gets a lot of the same disrespect that Tua gets, right? When a lot of people can't, Garoppolo couldn't do what Purdy is doing right now in terms of as a passer. But your ladies, your guys' thoughts on this?
Go ahead, Britt.
I think that the media has a really hard time admitting, hey, we were wrong about this person. So they would rather just keep digging that hole. And I also think that there's an agenda. Like, they know that when they talk poorly about Tua, it's going to bring in viewership, it's going to bring in engagement, it's going to bring all of that. So they're doing this, I feel like, purposely, like whether they want to believe what they're even saying or not. I think there's a purpose for it. But I just feel like, go ahead, continue to let them talk, because what Tua does every single season is he takes whatever the story is that season and he goes and proves it wrong. So yeah, go ahead and say it. I want the media to go ahead and start saying Tua can't even win all playoff games. He can't even make it to Super Bowl, because guess what? That's what Tua is going to do. He's always done it. So the media just loves to hate. They're going to continue to hate Tua. There's no stopping it. It is what it is.
Britt is dug in. Media is just anti-Tua. And I mean, I don't totally disagree with you. I am not a Tua stan the way that I think Reason is. Or
I knew she was going to say that.
I'm not. I'm
All
just
right.
not. I'm just not. But that said, I'm not like what Britt is saying. I'm not like the media who formed an opinion and then doesn't see the progression, the change, the maturity that I can appreciate it. And I am like, I've seen it, I've seen it. And I was really impressed. I got over my size issues because for me that was a big deal, just like probably for a lot of media members. Like I do view that as a knock. I did view the injury history as a knock. But then I saw I don't know, maybe the Baltimore game. I was at the Buffalo game 2022. I saw these flashes where I'm like, holy shit, bro. Okay. I don't think I think the whole he can't throw a deep ball. That's all bullshit. I don't care. I don't care about it. I've seen a crazy amount of progression, both as a player, a leader, everything, and I'm into it, right? But this here,
look, size matters to Jen. Yes, you got
it absolutely does. It absolutely does. You are correct, Robert. Shout out to I am a size queen, and I'm not going to apologize for it. No, I'm not. But I will say, I think Britt is onto something with they hold on to a narrative and then they just can't let it go, to either not be wrong, to either force clicks, to either do whatever. Because I've got to give him his props. I really believe, totally believed, at the end of last season, and then or 2 seasons ago, and then with the injuries, and then even this season. But I was just horrendously let down.
Yeah.
I was just terribly let down when it really mattered. And that's the progress that I want to see. I don't give a shit what people say about him as far as he could throw the deep ball, the most fucking passing yards. I don't give a shit. None of that matters to me.
Why do I feel attacked?
No, don't feel attacked. Don't feel attacked. I'm not coming at you. I promise you.
She is.
I'm trying to get on freaking board, man. I'm trying to get on board. All I want is for him to show it to me when it matters at the end of the season and against good teams. That's it. And I'm not even on board with the whole cold weather argument because I think it's kind of bullshit.
Because, Steve, I agree. Yeah, thank you.
We didn't even play in cold weather recently. The last game and Kansas City, fuck that. That is an anomaly.
That's different.
Actually, he played great in Buffalo in the snow, but we didn't win the game, but he played great in the game in Buffalo in the snow.
Thanks for stealing my thunder, Neal. I was about to get there.
Yeah, I did on purpose.
I know you did. I'm just saying, Kansas City was an anomaly. I don't expect anyone to play well there, right? But the last year, when we played the second game in Buffalo 2 years ago, whatever it is now, it was he was dope. It didn't matter. So the narrative for me isn't cold games. It's not whatever. It's just when it matters and towards the end of the season. And as soon as he starts proving it, then I think the narrative is going to start to disappear, because that's the only knock left, to be honest with you. I really think it's finding that clutch gene, being the one that comes through. And I do put a few of these losses this season in clutch times and important times on him. I do, not just on him. Don't get me wrong. Not absolutely on him.
That Tennessee game was a defense. There's just no way around it, right?
Well, whatever you want to say, that's fine. But yeah, Germany.
What?
He had the whole fucking game to score points, bro.
They're up by 2 scores with 3 minutes left. Defense should close that game out. There should be no discussion.
The Bills game, that's on them. I don't care what anybody says.
I'm talking about the Titans game.
I know, I hear you, but they could have put more points up during that. And Will Levis had the game of his life. Let's put it that way, right? He had
3 minutes of his life. That's what he did.
Right. That's what he did. But I do blame the Buffalo game on that. I do blame the first Kansas City game not on Tua, but on the offense.
The Germany game?
Just on the offense. Are you talking
about the Germany game?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I tell you, I blame that was Tyreek Hill.
And and not the playoff game. That was just that was an anomaly, and I'm gonna just throw that one.
Well, I think so. I think the playoff game. Okay, so the Germany game with Tyreek Hill, he had.
I know he did.
Before the fumble, he had the drop at the 30 where we didn't get any points. He had the fumble. He cost us 13 to 21 points, and then that KC game in the playoffs. I think that was McDaniel, because my issue with that is
I agree with you. Just get the offense together.
That was really
you got 27-mile-per-hour winds, and you're throwing screens, and you're throwing horizontally with a touch pass or a finesse passer
I'm not putting
instead of driving the ball down the field. But I can't. You got to give the defense on the Tennessee one. Come on. I mean, I know your boy Christian was on the defense, but you got to hold that lead.
That's fine. I just think I agree.
Bradley Chubb throwing his helmet like a damn crybaby cost us 4 points.
Gosh, yeah. What happened. That is what happened.
That was really bad. Correct. Yeah.
It's like in that Buffalo game you guys keep talking about. I'll tell you exactly why we didn't win that game. Sherfield and Tyreek Hill dropped touchdown passes on the same drive, right? And then Boyer and the defense give up the 3rd and 17 before the half end and allow them to score. Yeah. We should have won that game. Should have won that game.
He played so well that wasn't on Tua. I agree. So that's my point. Is just that, like, in that game, it was cold. He played well. I just don't believe the cold weather narrative. Like, it's just coincidental, I think, that it happens towards the end of the season. You know what I mean? But he played his nuts off in that game, and I'm not mad about it at all. I'm just saying, as we keep going towards the end of the season, what will make a lot of people, I think, change their minds.
We want to see more wins like the Cowboys win in December than
keep
what
it up.
we saw, basically.
Just keep that going. And I will say, I do agree with Britt a little bit, though, about the media, because I see the same shit with Jason Tatum. So they just like to shit on him.
Well, I'll say this on the media thing.
Neil, are you still driving?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I am. I got another hour. I'll say this. I do think there's things that Tua needs to prove. I'm not going to make excuses, but the media to me is absolutely reckless with their coverage of Tua. They make him feel like he's Tim Tebow or something. Yet he's been a bona fide MVP candidate for back-to-back seasons, man. Like that, it's frustrating. And like the narratives, he can't win a big game. Well, can someone tell me what the Webster's dictionary is for a big game? Because sure, we lost to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. There was polar bears and elves running around. It was so damn cold out there, right?
Real.
Like,
that's not right.
How many teams are running around the league saying
nobody?
Well, how many guys can go and say they beat Patrick Mahomes? Like, you know what I mean? Like, sure, and that's what we got to go through to win it. But I get to be frustrated where, like, we go into Detroit 2 years ago and we steamroll the Lions. Now they're in the NFC Championship. Then we go, we play Cleveland. We beat the shit out of the Browns. Now, that we don't ever give our team credit for these good wins. And I'm not saying us on this panel, I'm just saying the media and these narratives exist. But like, look, you're 11-6 with more injuries than you've ever had as a franchise. You must have beat somebody, right? You scored 70 points on another NFL football team this year, a team that beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, a team that beat Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Like, so it's like there's parity. And I think a lot of people forget one thing about football. The other team tries. The other team tries to stop you. This isn't Madden on rookie, with injuries turned off. This is the real world. And like, yeah, the Dolphins need to learn how to win when it's crunch time at the end of the season. But like, you would think that Tua is 0-27 in the playoffs based off of hearing some of these shows. He's 0-1. Right. Yeah. He's 0-1, and it's Patrick Mahomes. And, we're dealing with another Tom Brady practically in Mahomes, and that is what it is. There's no excuses. Brady he won 7 in 20 years, so 13 other teams won championships over those years. So we just got to find a way to be one of those teams. I asked my question: can I win a Super Bowl with Tua Tagovailoa? That's the only question that I give a shit about in the grand scheme of things. Like, if he could win MVP, yippee doo dah. If he could set all the Dolphins franchise pass records, yippee doo dah. If he won a Super Bowl, he would erase everything that mattered to me as a Dolphins fan that happened before that, and that includes Dan Marino. Not saying he would go away, but that would surpass that. Winning a championship would surpass anything that anyone else ever did for me as a fan of this franchise. I think Tua he deserves some criticism, but I think the amount that he gets,
it's too much.
Isn't
a lot. No, I agree.
You know what it is? It's nice guys finish last. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, and I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Christian, or anything by like that stretch of the imagination. But they come for those. They come for those Christian athletes, man. They came for Tebow. They come for him.
There's so many NFL players who are very heavy in their religion, I don't believe it's that.
But how many of them are quarterbacks that are faces of their franchise and that are always in the media spotlight?
Phillip Rivers. Let me think of more. Russell Wilson.
And I mean, he's like a walking meme. Russell Wilson's like a walking meme.
He asks for it.
Yeah, I know that dance is so terrible.
But just think about this on narratives, right? Like, we heard for 2 years that Tua was injury prone and the Dolphins should move on. Yet Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson both have missed more games than him, and you don't hear that narrative about either of those two players.
It's starting, but I hear you.
It's all about winning. It changes everything. The conversation changes. If Tua won a Super Bowl and he only played one game and that was the Super Bowl, no one would care that he missed 16 games, right? Like, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
And he's young. Like, this can all still happen. Sorry. Like, this can all still happen. Like, he's like a young kid. Like, as long as we start seeing more winning at the end of the season, like, I think that like, you're just shooting holes in what they can then say.
Well, the thing is, like, there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of recency bias. So the recency is we've seen basically one dynasty end, and now we're in the midst of another one, which is obviously the Patriots, and then into the Chiefs. Yeah. And both of those dynasties, basically with Brady and Patrick, started winning right away. So they expect that's the norm.
Yeah, it's like that instant gratification.
You know what I mean? It's microwave society. Right.
And I've said that a million times. I have to recalibrate my expectations. I've said it like with Britt a bunch of times, like, no, that's not what it was right away. This person was a different quarterback later on. I got to give you some grace, got to get the program all around you together, surround you with an entire better team, organization, coaching staff, everything.
They were winning championships without Brady even throwing 30 touchdowns. He didn't throw 30 touchdowns till Moss arrived.
Yep.
He hadn't thrown 30 touchdowns once. And then what happened? It's kind of what's happened with Tyreek and Tua, right? People automatically think, okay, everything revolves around the quarterback. So that means everything feeds off the quarterback, without realizing that the things that Randy Moss taught Tom Brady as a quarterback, how many more times, then all of a sudden he became a regular 30-plus touchdown passer, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing's happened with Tyreek and Tua, but, it's crazy. It's the same thing of like, oh, Tua needs all these weapons. Well, am I the only one who realized that Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl with a defense that was playing at like a top 8 clip? T. Higgins, right? Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon.
It's also not just it's not just Brady who says that about Moss. Like, Bill Belichick says that about Randy Moss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Randy Moss that he taught me things. Like, you don't hear that,
And then what did Brady do? Brady passed them on to like Edelman, to Welker, et cetera. Like, you help your other guys.
Freaking Hogan. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. 7-Eleven.
Take
right?
a freaking
Chris Hogan, they opened 7-Eleven.
You know what we need to do, though? I think the goal is to find a way to host playoff games, because I think if we are playing in Miami, I don't care. I am saying that I think not 10 out of 10 times. I'm just saying that I think if everything went our way, we could beat Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs at home. I do. Maybe I'm a crazy homer for thinking that, but
I don't think. Yeah.
I think we're winning our division this year. I'll put it on record now. I think the Bills. This is going to be the year where the Dolphins solve the Bills.
Hell yeah!
Yes, I agree.
I think this is the year, and I can't wait for Aaron Rodgers to fall on his face. I think the Dolphins are getting disrespected in all this, and I think people forget how good the Dolphins were last year. It was all the way up until week 16 where they were still fighting for the number 1 seed, despite having half of their roster on the IR at certain parts of the season. And everybody that is a key player on this team missed time besides Tua Tagovailoa. Everybody. The running backs, the receivers, the whole defense besides Wilkins, Tua.
Thank you.
And Steeler. And that's where no one gives them the benefit of the doubt for injuries, but I hear so many other people get it. So it's like respect is earned in this league, and the way the Dolphins can shut everybody up is going. And week 2 on Thursday Night Football at home, not just beating the Bills, but embarrass the Bills. Let them know that let them know that you're not a fucking joke anymore. That like I love that Mike McDaniel's doing this 24 thing, and Britt, I like that you're doing it on yours as well, the 24 after, because that shows right. But that shows awareness that you know who your boogeyman is. So don't go and hide under the sheets from your boogeyman. Climb under the bed, pull that guy out, and beat his ass. And that's what I want the Dolphins to do in week 2 this year.
And what's crazy is we're the boogeyman of every other. Tua's the boogeyman of every other team in the AFC East except that team. It's crazy.
Oh my god! And they talk like they've beaten Tua 10 times. It's so ridiculous, dude. They're 0-11 these two fan bases, and you would think, and they're like, oh,
they don't say shit.
We're gonna open up spaces to celebrate when you guys sign Tua. Oh, go have fucking fun time doing that. Because we'll just stomp you for the next decade. Enjoy that.
Finally here about sticking with Tua, because I wanted to this is what Mike Florio said, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. So let's play what Florio said.
He said at one point yesterday, we'll see how he does at read option, and if he's trying to be an option quarterback, how svelte is svelte. And we will see what he does. And svelte sounds exotic. He's skinny. He ain't svelte. He's skinny. And he's too skinny to survive the physical demands of playing quarterback in the NFL, especially if he's going to be taking hits. And if he's going to be running the option and not flipping the ball, he's going to take some hits from some big, strong guys who weigh a lot more than he does.
Yeah. Okay, so some of my comments, too, when those pictures came out of Tua said Tua looks like Maui on Slim Fast. So where are you guys at with this and Tua's body transformation? I mean, I don't think he's, these guys are acting like he's down to like 197 and he's down to like what, 220? Like, he's 6'1", 220. And hey, the whole point is it's going to be harder for guys to hit him because he's going to be a little quicker. We've talked about injuries a whole hell of a lot this show. And are you guys concerned with him dropping weight the way he has, that he, after his concussion history, after his hip, et cetera, are you guys concerned that he's susceptible to injuries now, losing that weight?
No. I think that him and his trainers, they know what they need to do. I'm trusting them, Yeah,
no, I'm not. I mean, I'm not really worried about it, but this is what it's like to be a woman, just for everyone out there. Like, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too fat, you're too skinny. Ugh. But just FYI, so thanks for all the criticism, y'all. But it's way to a national narrative. But no, I genuinely don't. I think what he had a problem with was flailing and not using his core strength to like curl up like a baby should as they're developing. It's like he's in a jolly jumper before. That's what he did. He's flailing backwards. No, I think the jiu-jitsu, like we saw in the first preseason game at Houston, right? The first time he got hit,
he did like that little
rollback,
curled up like a little, like you should. And I think that's the more important thing. I think it's not about like his 15 pounds isn't protecting him from a 310-pound lineman. Like that's not it. It's more about how he's going to go down, right? So I think as long as I hope continues to like, I know he's not continuing, or I don't know, but like I think he did that training. He calls it a day. Great, but I hope he's always cognizant of that, and that is, I think, a huge part of what kept him healthy this year. I think slimming down will make him a little bit quicker. I think bailing out of plays, like instead of waiting to get slammed down or tossed down, is more important than 10 extra pounds.
I thought
men get, you're too short.
Yeah, you do. That's yours, and you're correct. And you are correct. You do get short shamed, and I apologize for that because I am, as I said, a size queen. And no reason to be like that. I'm like a little itty bitty thing. So, sorry, Neal. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I thought they canceled Beavis and Butthead over a decade ago. Florio and Chris Sims are two of the biggest idiots that I've ever seen, because here's what's crazy. I heard those two idiots praising Lamar Jackson, who's down to 205 pounds for losing weight, because the NFL is not going to be ready to catch him. So it's like this is that narrative spin, And like, you look, they have a big platform. They have a huge audience. They get a lot of attention. They're on Sunday Night Football. But man, these guys are two of the biggest idiots that exist covering football. Like
They're
Chris
really
Sims, what is Chris? I think there's a part of Chris Sims that's jealous of Tua because he was a
Yeah, I do
left-handed
too.
quarterback,
I do
and
too.
Tua made it. And you could. I'm doing this all the top of my head, but you could say, I think pretty confidently, right, that Tua is the best left-handed quarterback post Steve Young, right? I think we could say that confidently. I think Chris Sims, whose dad had a successful NFL career, he was a journeyman at best, never really established himself as anything in the NFL. And I think there's some jealousy on his end because it seems like since day one, he's been on a mission to go against Tua and pull him apart. And, I think he had to eat some of his words a little bit last year. And now that's the off season where he's ranting. You know what I mean? He's probably some of those Jets burners that are in my DMs threatening me and shit. Like it's just crazy to me because whenever you see most of this bad noise about Tua Tagovailoa, there you go, seeing Beavis and Butthead, sitting there starting all this shit. And I just think I hate it, man. I just hate it.
You're not wrong. You are not
I'm telling you,
wrong.
Tua pays their bills.
Yeah. No, you were right when you said it before. Just like it drives clicks.
Yes.
And Ryder says they're still mad that Tua turned down the interview.
Yeah,
And
I
Tony
agree with
Rizzi
that.
says Sims buttons his top button. What does that say about him? And I mean, he ain't lying. Think about that one, right? So
The chat is like going off on them, and I love it.
well, let me tell you a little story. There was like
I didn't even know how to get to the chat before.
I want to say like
Found it.
was it 3 off seasons ago? I want to say it was 3 off seasons ago where Sims was just, I forget what he's doing. You might remember this, Neal, but he was being super disrespectful to Tua, and we all came, like Dolphins Twitter came for him. And this is back when I used to go for people's throats on Twitter. And have you guys ever seen the movie Boys in the Hood?
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
you remember? Oh, you
Are you
need to watch that
serious?
tonight. You
That's
need
a
to
great
watch that
Sunday
tonight.
movie to watch. Yeah,
Yeah, you
absolutely.
need to watch
Never
that
seen
tonight.
it?
No.
There's a scene in that movie.
We're gonna have a podcast.
Yeah. There's a scene in that movie where this kid who's a football player, his name is Ricky,
Yeah.
and he's running away from like a Volvo. I think it was a Volvo. A red car pulls up, and like the back window comes down, and a shotgun comes out, and he's running away, and they shoot him dead in the street. And like I had that change to like the window rolls down and the gun pops out and my face is behind the gun, and then I put Chris Sims's face on Ricky running away, getting shot. And because it got bad, like he was responding to a bunch of us. Like Chris Sims had to go. Correct me if I'm wrong, Neal. Didn't Chris Sims actually go on air and like apologize? I'm pretty sure.
He did. I forget what he did, but he did apologize for it. He did.
Yeah,
he
he
tried
got
to take.
bad because he was going back and forth with a bunch of us, and he was getting cooked.
And then he tried to backpedal and tried to act like
Yeah.
he was a Tua fan after that.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was like 3 years ago, I want to say.
I gotta look that
It
up.
was crazy. It was hilarious. Like we were just cooking him on. Oh, it was fantastic.
I wish Dolphins like Twitter would come together again. Because I mean, I'm new to Dolphins Twitter. Like this last season was my first time.
Same. It'll never be the same. Dolphins Twitter is in the shitter, and it
It's
has
bad.
been for like 2 years now.
I'm on a mission then. Bring it together.
Girl.
Here we go. Make Dolphins Twitter great again. Is that where
Yes.
we're at?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Well, that's a little close to. I can't get. We'll find another
Well,
tag.
we have to find a new slogan, but
Yeah, that's not gonna work for me. Sorry,
Philip
y'all.
says, what about
find a
Robert
new
Haynes,
slogan.
the center from Tampa Bay, hasn't missed a game past 2 seasons, 4th year, and Barton is probably his replacement. I don't think they'll trade a pick for a center, bro. It's Aaron Brewer's job. I think they'll get scraps off the street. What they're going to wait for is for camp to happen, and people will get cut, right? Yeah, from Notre Dame.
They did like
From
him.
Notre Dame.
Yeah, they liked him at Notre Dame. I do remember
a lot
they
of
liked
love at the Senior Bowl. Remember at the Senior Bowl, they showed
They
a ton of love with them.
I'm sorry, they like 2 out of Notre Dame.
Robert Hainsey.
Oh, yeah.
He's a 5 position kind of guy. Probably center's his best position.
Yeah, and guard. Remember when he came after Tuanon last year? He hates us because we bitched him up. Yeah, Chris Sims has real issues with Dolphins Twitter. We've been
He's got a
literally
history.
good. Let him hate us. Good.
He's a little bitch.
Yeah.
He is. Sorry. Hey, Chris Sim. You a bitch.
Oh my.
You didn't play
I'm
into it,
Boston
but
for
now did
charity.
you?
She's not lying though. Over
No.
920 of you in the room watching. Smash the like button. Final thoughts, guys, guys and gals.
I
Take
mean,
it away.
Britt, you want to go first or me?
Go ahead, Jen.
I was gonna say, let's fucking go Celtics. Sorry, everybody. I know y'all hate me, but let's do that first. Tatum is our Tua, so I get it. I get the hate for a great player that's just totally disrespected by the national media, and I cannot wait for this season. LFG Hayden Rucci. I can't wait to be a bigger fan of the Tua train, and I hope that that's what's going to happen this year. And I'm super pumped about him working with QB, whatever the fuck it's called, Tom House's place. And I'm really pumped for like the development this year, and mostly that Mike McDaniel gets his shit together and calls better plays in a timely manner, and we can get a 3rd and 1.
Reason is purposely like putting up the people who are talking crap.
Yeah, I can see
on
y'all.
He's purposely highlighting them just for you, Jen.
Here you go. Boston, bitches.
Anthony wants to know, are you a masshole? Yes, she is.
I am.
If you haven't figured it out by the potty mouth yet. She's from the land of Matthew Damon and Ben Affleck.
That is correct. And Christian Wilkins, most importantly, and from Springfield, Mass, just like Christian.
What about Mark Wahlberg? Not about him.
They're all from Boston, which like we love and support our fellow assholes. But I am from Springfield, Massachusetts, which is the mother effing home of basketball. It's where it was freaking invented. And it's also where myself, Smith and Wesson, Christian Wilkins, and Dr. Seuss came from.
And Dunkin' Donuts.
And Dunkin', yeah, but that's more out.
Are Dunkin' Donuts raising their flags at half-mast because J-Lo and Ben Affleck are divorcing? What's going on there?
I don't know what is happening with that. My brother-in-law did fly a helicopter in a movie, The Sum of All Fears. Like Ben Affleck was in it, and my brother-in-law was actually, I don't know, however you
great movie.
Yeah, so my brother-in-law was actually the helicopter pilot in it.
Yeah. Here, I'll put up a compliment for her.
I mean, he flew the actual.
Love it.
Thank you. Jennifer's wicked smart. Is that my sister? Oh no,
smart. No, it's Anthony.
Anthony, thank you, Anthony.
How is Jennifer a Dolphin fan? Explain.
Because we claimed her.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say smart. It's on the back of my shirt, but I can't turn around. How am I a Dolphin fan? Whatever. Everyone from New England moves down there. Family was half Dolphins fans. Then Christian, who is from my town and went to my high school, which is not in the same town, got drafted by the Dolphins, and that's how I became a full-on Dolphins fan in 2019.
And she's a season ticket holder too.
Yeah,
and she's going into her 3rd year as a season ticket holder.
Well, no, I don't want to hear anyone talking smack about her with her fanship because she flies down there and is an out-of-state season ticket holder. So there is nothing anyone can
hold
say
it
about
the
her.
F down. Y'all get out of here. Yeah. That.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Britt. Final thoughts, Britt. And everyone, go subscribe to the Sideline boom on the
Thank
page
you.
right there.
Yeah, me, Jen, and Mary will be doing our first live show tomorrow night. So very excited about that. So you guys can come hang out with me and Jen again, and then plus Mary. You guys know her as Mrs. Martinez, but she's coming as Mary because school's out.
Yeah, and she's also now Mrs. Crippen, so we're
Mrs. Crippen now.
Prove that she can crip walk tomorrow on live.
Yeah, we're gonna make it crip walk.
Like, no, that's part of the it's part of the deal.
Okay, I'll tune in for the crip walk.
Thank you, Steve.
You're only for the crip walk?
I see you.
All right, I'll be calling you. I'll be calling you when this live ends.
Neal, any final thoughts?
Chris Sims can pound sand. That's all I really think.
So nothing's changed from how you feel about him yesterday. So there you go. Nothing's changed.
No.
Over 915 of you in the room. Listen, we were going up against the NBA Finals here.
So, I'm going up against myself.
Well, you get the whole second half to sit there and watch.
I can fast forward through. Yeah. Oh, I heard you. Okay.
Luca.
Hey, Luca. Hey.
Hey, you can't hate on Luca, man.
I'm not gonna hate on Luka. I'm not gonna hate on Luka or Kyrie. I'm just gonna rep my
Well,
guys.
I would get it if you hated on Kyrie because he's
Yeah, I know, but I can't really.
he's a little
like,
out there. He's a little out there.
He's
You know
out
what I
there,
mean?
but he's good. Like I can't really fucking hate on him.
And Florida, everyone in Florida's in their bag yesterday after the game 1 win now over the Edmonton Oilers yesterday. So they're all feeling themselves right now.
Vamos
So they're
Gatos. Look, I'm freaking rooting for the Panthers, even though they beat my Bruins. Like LFG. Vamos
Are
Gatos.
you a
Let's go.
Bruins fan too?
She is.
Reason. What? Do you not? What?
Yuck.
Anyone who chooses to cheer for Brad Marchand is, oh man, we gotta have a conversation.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
No, I'm not even going to talk about it.
I like Josh Allen more than I like Brad Martin.
Oh yeah,
Oof.
like I could get cheering for Patrice Bergeron, but or
What
Zdeno
about Eddie?
Chara,
What
but
about
not this guy.
what about Eddie Shore? It's my bestie's great grandpa. Hello, like I do not slander the Bruins. Her
I
great
hate the
grandpa.
Bruins.
Yeah, he's in the rafters at the Garden. So this is how we do. Just win, win, win.
The only thing I like about the Bruins is the Toronto Maple Leafs can't beat them. That's the only thing I like about the Boston Bruins.
All right, we'll keep it up
That's
for you,
it.
bro. I got you.
Boston is cursed, Jen. They'll blow it in Game 7. There you go. And on that
There you
note,
go.
smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and we'll
Just
be back
kidding.
next Sunday for Dolphins After Dark. Until then, we'll see y'all guys. Have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and fins up.
Thanks, guys.